Hey folks, my name is Pravus. Welcome back to more Plague Inc. Evolved Custom Scenarios. That last scenario was really short, so let's try something else that caught my interest. Anti-Necroa, Ground Zero. This one has a lot of reading, and I'm not going to make you go through all of this, but it seems like all of this is pretty important. The reason it caught my eye is because this is promising to not be a mod so much as a literal overhaul of Plague Inc., which is a rare enough thing to find, so color me intrigued. In this scenario, I'm actually the chief researcher working for ZCOM. We have to, I guess, effectively cure the Necroa virus, which is interesting because there's no cure mode in any of these scenarios or in the mod workshop. So anything that can recreate that is also exciting for me. Transmissions have been replaced with federal assets. Symptoms are actually going to be for the zombies. It's going to ramp up automatically, so I have to keep an eye on that because there may only be a handful of countermeasures, if any. Military assets are going to be in place of our abilities, ways of fighting back. Our goal actually is to get cured. So that's counter to what we're used to, but that's what I want. We're going to initially have to deal with one infected country, but as it grows, obviously it infects all neighboring countries. We will be able to slow the spread by shutting down things like air and sea travel and so on. And there's still a lot more here, but I'm not going to read through all this unless I feel like I'm lost. I think I get the gist. All right, Duke Nukem Forever, let's see what you've got. I'm going to be playing this on Mega Brutal to start it off. Let's see if it works. You've been tasked to deal with an unusual type of pathogen. It is shown to have regenerative abilities and cellular manipulation, although we don't know how much damage can be done to humans. Better keep all tabs on it. Okay, sure. Select the country you want to start in. I guess it'll start in Saudi Arabia for a fair, fight, but if I wanted to be very mean, maybe I could start in, I don't know, Brazil or something and say, screw it, you're stuck. So, what do we have to work with? We have stealth. Sometimes the only way to beat the zombies is by outlasting them. Okay. And then evacuation during the early stages of the outbreak. We'll need to avoid as many victims as possible, and evacuation is one of the better choices. Decreases country density. So I guess less urban impact or something. Okay, that should be useful. Zombie abilities we can see here. Again, this should happen automatically like mutation chance. So we're going to see a disease actually start to build up, which will spread an infection, but they start with cytopathic reanimation. Okay, which means they're going to be going for ways of making the zombies overall more impactful. And then military assets, we start off with combat abilities, so military influence gains more combat abilities. Okay, and then that can lead to military influence, allows me to control a fraction of military resources and issue orders to take down zombies more effectively, start the cure research, and close the borders. That sounds like something I'm going to want pretty much automatically, so okay. Ooh, difficulty chosen Mega Brutal. That means the panic rate is dramatically increased, humans suffer great combat disadvantage, and the cure will take much longer. Nice, I like that there actually seems to be some custom difficulty options on top of what the game would normally throw your way. Wildlife mutated. All right, well that's a thing, but let's go ahead and grab the influence and try to start slowing things probably right off the bat. Give more influence for border control actions. Vaccine, we managed to reduce the mortality rate. Less mortality rate would mean less zombie buildup, but I don't imagine it will end it because, eventually the zombies are still going to kill and bite people, right? It's going to happen. Aim for the head, try to kill the zombies faster. Let's go for military influence to try and go for border control methods. So we have sea border control, land border control, and air control, all of which are probably very important. I'm trying to decide what we're going to want immediately. I guess we could go for the land border control. Maybe that's all right. What else do we have here? Anything? We have cure effort, significantly increase the cure progress. Could be good. Airstrikes, decoys, evacuation orders. There's a lot of customization in here. A lot. All right. Light armored vehicles. I'm kind of taking these to basically mean that we are counteracting the severity of the zombies. They kill a lot less effectively. That's my guess. I'm going to start by grabbing land border control, so it is far less likely that we get out of Saudi Arabia into neighboring countries, but we're going to end up wanting something like the air control probably next, because, obviously it's going to try to get out of here. We just got air symptom mutated, so now it's definitely going to go for some of the, air travel. We can go for water probably next, since we're trying to kind of get everything. But if they're really going for a lot of air, do we want to go for even better air control and slow this down further? Like, I don't know for sure in this scenario, how useful is it to really keep it contained to its first country, or is that even really going to be helpful? We can go for face masks. That's a fairly cheap way of reducing the infectivity a little bit. I probably should go for the cure effort, though, if I'm honest. Like, that's probably one of the most important things we can get. So zombies just hit. All right, now we have millions of zombies. Let's go ahead and start working on that cure progress. Slightly increase the cure progress for 16 more. Doesn't seem as good. How are we doing here? We have pretty much nobody working on this. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, we probably actually do need every country to get infected in order for this to work. Otherwise, they're not even going to work on the cure, are they? Oh, that's going to be a weird balancing act then, because once it hits everybody, I'm going to have a really hard time stopping it, because as we saw, it hit critical mass in Saudi Arabia very quickly. But if I let it spread too quickly, so we lose, but if I don't let it spread at all, we get no cure progress. Yeah, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So that already is a very interesting thing. Okay, all right. Trying to think about this. We could reduce the mortality rate. That does slow down the zombies a little bit. I think it might be better to go for things like aim for the head, off with the head, maybe. Light armored vehicles doesn't seem bad. Horseback riding. Do we have any new assets coming in? No. Let's get military influence level 3 and see what's going to happen. This kind of reminds me almost a little bit more of Rebel Inc. than it does Plague Inc., but it's interesting so far. Drones deployed. Use robots to reduce human losses and might turn the tides in our favor so long as the only thing our drones can do is deliver supplies for now. So reduces panic, reduces infectivity. I am guessing that reducing panic is effectively the same as reducing lethality and people turning into zombies. And since I don't think we can stop every nation from getting infected, what it's going to come down to is just trying to slow down how many die long enough for the cure to hit, and we probably can't save most of the world. That's probably not possible or desirable, because as you can see here, we're hitting critical mass in these places very quickly. They are going to get infected. It's gonna happen. But we're starting to see some of that cure research working, so it's happening for us. Decoy. Use decoys to lure the zombies away. Bombs, airstrikes? I feel like we haven't quite reached that point yet. Is that really what I want? Maybe. Maybe it is. They're going to be ramping up their lethality and their infectivity as time goes on, though. That's the thing. I'm literally rushing an AI here. That's interesting. We have new things that just popped up. Good God, do we have a lot? Hold on. We got natural camouflage, so stealth goes up. All right. Subterranean refuge, makeshift bunkers issued all over the place. Okay. Noise reduction. Decrease zombie abilities, might increase non-compliance. I'm not sure how to measure that in this. Close the land borders. I'm going to take that. That's going to slow things down for a little bit because, okay, never mind. It didn't matter. They didn't close down the borders. It still spread really fast. All right, so that didn't help me at all. Slight debuff to lethality everywhere. Seaports, airports. Close the airports, close the seaports. Okay. Evacuate the rainforests, evacuate the urban areas. I imagine we need to make the urban areas less susceptible because that's where population centers are going to be, which means lots of zombies. Rural regions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's go for decoys, and let's go for horseback riding and heavy armored vehicles, which is going to slow down the panic and the infectivity by a fair bit. I don't know how heavy the infection, or sorry, the mutation chance is going to be, which is kind of one of the problems here. Let's go for off with the head, and then we could go for burning corpses. That reduces panic by a pretty big amount. But as we can see here, like, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone in these countries are going to die regardless. The good news is I'm getting DNA by popping this, so every time the zombies make progress, it's giving me more gas to actually fight against it, which is very, very interesting. Vaccine alpha to slow things down, so that's really going to reduce the panic. The thing is, like, am I wrong about panic? Does panic really make a big deal? I don't know. Vaccine alpha issued. Thanks to our first vaccine, humanity managed to briefly decrease NAX 26's mortality rate, but without combat abilities, they will stand no chance against zombies. Yeah, and well, that's why I got the heavy armored vehicles. So what are you complaining about? We got some good stuff. Let's go ahead and get military influence so we can get light sources. I guess having flares is probably going to be useful. More zombies to fight. So we attract them, but we have an advantage in seeing them? That doesn't seem like a very smart one. Vaccine beta issued. Thanks to our second vaccine, humanity managed to decrease it even further. Lethality will catch up soon, and so will the zombies. Yeah, but so far they've been limited to only land expansion, which is good. I take that back. They got into places like Madagascar. Not sure how that happened. We can get extra DNA from blue bubbles on top of everything, so that's still helpful. Bright lights lure even more zombies away. That greatly reduces the panic. That seems pretty good. Propaganda, increase the cure research speed. Yes, please. 24/7 surveillance. No one cares about privacy when the zombie infections are going around. Most vulnerable parts of infected countries are regularly checked up on with video cameras, so we can detect infections faster. Whatever that means. It only costs a handful of points, so I'm not sure if it's actually useful to me or not. Maybe that's useful. I'll pick it up. Firearms distribution. Human firepower goes up. Causes slight instability. Doesn't seem like much. Survival. Increases combat ability of uninfected countries. How is that useful to me? If they haven't been infected, does it prevent them from getting infected sooner? Or something? I don't know. How are we doing on that cure? All right, people are working on it. We are seeing some of it get destroyed, but mostly in places we don't care about, probably. So that's all right. They haven't spread that much. They just got birds. Neural reactivation, air, blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. What does this do? Zombies retain brain functions, allow them to coordinate their attacks and set up traps. Oh, great. That sounds like fun. Let's go ahead and grab the lights and see what that does. Flashlights? I think that just reduces panic. Panic clearly is not like all it takes in order to stop the zombies from being a thing. We need to be able to kill the zombies. That's what I need. It's not just enough that we seem to be actually preventing people from being stupid and running straight into the zombies' loving arms. We need to actually start killing them faster so we can just deal with the infected the old-fashioned way. So yeah, I need more combat. More advanced stuff. I mean, maybe. Is that helpful? Slight increase to cure research. Noise reduction. Let's reduce their abilities. Zombies will not be attracted during day or night, so lights are going to be a little bit dimmer. Everyone has a dimming switch. Okay. Subterranean refuge. Stealth. I just don't know if at this point, like, infectivity is actually what I want, which, by the way, for some reason is misspelled over here. It's missing an I, I just noticed. That's kind of weird. Zombie camouflage. Just like The Walking Dead. Humans mask themselves using blood and meat. Sounds good on paper. Not everyone will be fooled. Yeah, maybe. Panic is starting to go back up. They just got acidic reflux, so their combat ability is growing dramatically, which means we can suddenly see how many of their numbers are going up. So yeah, we're falling behind in our ability to actually fight them. That's the problem I'm running into right now. Do I need bombs then? Like, is that actually a good idea? Maybe. Let's go for military influence. What else can I get? Armed drones. There we go. That could help. Second chance. Allow countries whose government has fallen to reform and continue working on the cure. That seems useful. Very expensive. Probably not good at Mega Brutal. Gas masks. Avoid contamination by liquids and air alike. Loud sirens significantly expands the horde size, unfortunately. I assume that in the game, the horde is actually still moving around between countries. Maybe that's why I'm still going to get infected no matter what. That could be. Military influence, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take the armed drones. Seems pretty solid. Maybe we want gas masks. It doesn't seem like a bad plan there. Keep popping all this extra stuff. We're getting a lot of DNA right now, which is great. Hazmat suits greatly reduce the infection, I suppose. So we're starting to see the zombies are killing everybody off here. I don't think that I'm going to be able to save every country. The problem is the cure is still way too slow. Way too slow. I think I have to go for the reformed governments, because we've lost places like China. They're all zombified. So if I don't get China back on track, we're going to lose everything, right? Governments have been reformed. So what does this do? See, it looks like we haven't actually gained anything there in terms of the cure. Okay. I'm thinking here, do we really need the bombs? Or do I really need to go for the cure research? Like, these only slightly increase the speed, it says. So I don't know how useful that is. I'm watching, and it doesn't look like we're actually growing all that much. Places like North America are still alive, at least temporarily. That's only going to do so much. Enhanced motor control, yeah, they're going kind of fast here. All right, well... We can bring bigger toys into play. Decreases lethality by a lot. Let's find out what bombs do. I don't know if I'm going to win this or not, because I can't tell if I actually am capable of winning this as things stand. It looks like they're going to get into every country no matter what. Iceland starts using airstrikes against the undead. so they can unlock more powerful bombs and deal with this. Maybe the trick really is you want to have the bombs early, and it's possible you're going to be able to kill off an infection before they actually spread any further. That could be a thing. Fragmentation bombs whittles down their numbers by a lot. It seems wrong to be bombing your population, but like maybe that actually is a way to go. The US is going to be getting infected, but it looks like it actually... No, it says zombies and dead. It is still infected no matter what. So that's going to be a thing. I don't know. I'm kind of confused on what to actually do here. I get that the zombies are getting more dangerous and all that. That makes sense. I understand. But I'm trying to think, like, how on Mega Brutal difficulty can I actually survive long enough to even get the cure going? Because so far, it feels like that doesn't really help me. We're going to increase the horde size because it reduces the panic and the infectivity by a fair amount. Canada might actually be the only country that survives here. But, like, notice how we're making no cure progress, right? All of it's basically been destroyed. Like, when they say that they've reformed governments, that seems to be a lie. And that's kind of a huge problem. We get a lot of funding points. That doesn't do me any good because I need cure points. Cure! That's what I need! All right. We can reduce infectivity and panic completely, but that doesn't matter because people are getting infected anyway. But, like, no one's zombifying in the USA. But, like, the USA apparently can't win this on their own. I don't know. I think that there's some problems here. I think that the problem I'm seeing with the scenario right now is it looks like there are, in fact, ways of basically preventing people from getting zombified. Even though they can be infected, they may not actually turn, which is good to know, but it's eventually going to turn against me. Like, that is inevitable. But if you can't actually reestablish all of this, then what ends up happening is the world is infected too quickly. And that exponential growth of the zombies was way too fast for me to have a way to deal with that. I'm not convinced this can be beaten on Mega Brutal the way that it's currently set up. Maybe it can, but like notice, even with it, like we're making no progress. None whatsoever. You should still see like 1 or 2% tick-ups here. It would be very slow, but we'd win slowly and methodically, but it's not happening here. So for some reason, I think that the scenario is either bugged or it's literally impossible to win on Mega Brutal. Maybe. Let's go ahead and grab Meat Bait, so we're just going to make sure that panic stays lower. Once again, not a problem. Maybe the other way to win is actually not to even cure everybody. Maybe the other way to win is basically to make it so that the entire zombie horde dies, because they actually are all about to starve, and they haven't gotten into Canada. I don't think you can win that way, but maybe. I just got a lot of free DNA here, by the way. Okay, so the zombies are all dead. So no one is spreading the disease, and if no infected turn, then maybe we're okay? Question mark? I'm confused. I also feel like Military Influence 6 was supposed to be what turns on Second Chance here, but it hasn't. I just think this ability isn't working. I think it literally is not working. Because if it did, we actually would win right now. I'm pretty sure. I think that we've actually followed a setup here that kind of works. What other options do we have, though? We could go for exterminating birds and various different insects. That would reduce the infection by a pretty substantial amount. Nationwide blood tests, shut down a bunch of water supplies. I mean, that should get people killed regardless, but, like, at least it's a way of slowing things down. Yeah, desert evacuations, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, we can slow down the infection, but I think everyone's going to get infected. I think slowing down the infection is irrelevant. I think that what you want to do is have enough stuff here that you basically prevent any of them from turning into zombies, even if they are carriers of the disease. And then if this worked, this is actually beatable on Mega Brutal. I think maybe. I guess I'll go for chemical bombs, which is going to decrease the mutation chance, but like we've only made 1% more progress here in our cure progress. Like, it's not going anywhere, guys. It's literally not. I will get a bunch of free DNA points just from the blue bubbles, and maybe any of these special, like, funding things. And as long as no new zombies spawn, we might actually technically win, but I bet I'd have to sit here for, like, an hour or two, which is just, like, I'm sorry, that's not happening. On the other hand, I could just keep investing in cure efforts here. I mean, it's very expensive, but if they're going to keep giving me free DNA, maybe it's fine. Canada's about to get fully infected. No, you've got zombies! No! Kill the zombies! Kill them! Bomb them! What are you doing? They're going to get bit. They gonna get bit! Canada. Wait, now America's getting infected now, too! Something changed! No! We're going to lose. Yeah, the numbers of zombies is growing. Ah, no. Okay, whatever. I mean, in a way, this is almost preferable, so I don't sit around wasting my time. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think the idea behind the scenario is actually fascinating. Like a really, really cool idea with this scenario here. Just for the fact that it is actually attempting to completely overhaul the game. This is not a thing that I think I've ever really seen to this degree in Plague Inc. before. So I'm a big supporter of what's going on here, and I honestly think that even though it's kind of like almost playing the bioweapon in cure mode, like a 2/3 of the world will die, you can still save humanity with the right play, and if you rush the disease and just fight off the zombies and just protect a few small areas, which is effectively what we ended up doing. So if this had worked and the cure actually was able to do anything, I think that this actually could work on Mega Brutal, and it's a really, really cool idea for a scenario. But it's hard for me to get excited about it in a case where, it feels like it might be literally impossible in its current setup. On a lower level difficulty, maybe it's fine. Maybe. You know what's funny, by the way? Angola apparently isn't fully zombified. Most of them are, but not all of them. So if the zombies die off fast enough, we actually still technically might be able to win. Wait, why are you just now setting up this here in New Guinea? See, this is another thing I was going to say. I actually felt like the ZCOM bases should have been popping up in a bunch of places by now for sure, because that's obviously a big part of the game. So I would have thought as the player, I'd get some abilities, place down ZCOM, basically kill all zombies who enter the country, unless the lethality and the severity get so out of control you get overwhelmed, which is basically how the virus normally works, right? That's the point. But that doesn't seem to have been a thing so far in this scenario, which doesn't seem right. Also, I'm unconvinced that the AI is correctly using things like zombie hordes. Maybe that needs to be a random event thing, or maybe there's something else to it. I don't know, but I feel like there's ideas here that just aren't actually working, right? I'll have to talk to the dev on this at some point. I mean, they said they wanted my feedback. Yeah, my feedback is this is an incredibly cool idea. A really, really, really cool idea. However, I'm unconvinced that everything you wanted is actually working. If you can figure that out, this will be great. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here because, like, it's going nowhere. Cool idea. Super cool idea. One of the coolest. But we'll see if Duke Nukem Forever is able to actually pull it off. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, I'd ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.